So I'll start off by saying thank you so much on behalf of everyone at Proud at WYCA for sitting down with me today to talk about LGBT History Month. I guess, like, first things first, why do you think it matters that we celebrate LGBT History Month?
Well, it really matters because as an organisation, businesses that are more diverse do better. But also it's about equality, and I've been a champion for equality all my life, and I wanted to bring those values into this organisation and to be able to celebrate the values that I've lived by, but also to celebrate our brilliant colleagues and to have great ideas about how we do that is an exciting opportunity for us, and it modernises our organisation, but also is an opportunity for colleagues to feel that we hear them and they're valued and we see them.
Definitely, that's great. And I think, people really have noticed how much equality and diversity have been put on the agenda since you've sort of joined as mayor, so that's brilliant. But I guess, just thinking of LGBT rights and history specifically, are there any sort of experiences that have shaped your sort of views on that, and why is it so important to you?
Well, I suppose 3 decades as an actor.
Yeah,
I've been in a sector where everyone is welcome.
Yes.
And I have seen their challenges as well as the decades have gone by. And I was the equity rep, which is like the trade union rep, for a couple of jobs where you're supporting colleagues who might not feel that people, get their challenges. There was one job I did, it was theatre and education actually in Ramsgate.
Wow.
And there was one of our crew was forced that in order to be his true self, he had to live like as a woman, whatever that means. But the powers that be said he had to live like a woman for 2 years, and I saw the challenge that that presented. But also when I was fundraising for the miners back in the day, this is probably before you were born, I saw how the LGBTQIA plus community rallied around the miners. We all want equality, we all want fairness, and I think there is something about that collective approach, that partnership approach that demands that government and those in power listen to those diverse voices. I thought that was something really exciting, and you'll know the film Pride.
Yeah, no, I love the film. It's so powerful,
It's
amazing.
so powerful, and every time I see it I weep, with joy as well.
Yeah.
But there's been a number of things throughout my life that have obviously impacted on my thinking about inclusivity. And also my youngest is a drag queen.
Amazing.
And she's really introduced me to a whole new world of thinking.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd understand as much as I do about non-binary without having a daughter who's in that world. And also I remembered the other night just seeing Nancy. I went with Nancy and saw her mate in a show. And at the end of the show, he said, "I'd just like to thank the security guards for keeping us safe." And you almost forget, don't you, that actually that community is, it's a community that's vulnerable, which is why I was really pleased that in my police and crime plan, working with the brilliant Alison Lowe, the Deputy Mayor, that we were able to make hate crime a really important part of that, because we know where hate crime leads us.
Yeah. And it's on the rise.
Exactly, it is on the rise. And in fact, of all communities, LGBTQIA plus are the ones where they're seeing the highest numbers of recorded hate crime. So it's something that we're going to be focusing on going forward. So I'll just say that throughout my life, having the privilege of spending time with people who have lived experience of the challenge has really helped me with my thinking, because the more inclusive we are, the stronger we are, the more resilient we are as an organisation particularly.
No, I think that's right. I think it's interesting that you bring up that kind of how your views have changed over time and how you learn something that's so important, but we always keep engaging it because it's changed so much from the 80s to now, and the issues that you're dealing with now are completely different, aren't they? But
and I would say that hopefully we've got opportunities for learning within our organisation, and that we shouldn't be chastising people if they haven't had the experience of the gift that I was given by my daughter to open my eyes about the sort of new world. So I think being able to say, I don't understand that, I think that acceptance of learning, we're all on a journey, aren't we?
Definitely.
And I think to keep an open mind and to be able to share with colleagues our challenges, each individual person's challenges, I think is a an open organisation is going to be the best way forward.
Definitely, I think that's what this month should all be about.
Exactly.
Everyone challenging their own views and learning. But I think everyone can kind of relate to that idea of not being themselves, or not feeling like they're in an environment where they can be themselves. I guess, have you got any personal experiences of that, at a time where you felt pressured into not being your authentic self?
Oh gosh,
well, so many times, yeah. No.
Well, I would say, coming from a council estate, wanting to be an actor, not having gone to drama school, then ending up on film sets or TV sets with very famous people who understand how you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
I mean, there were many occasions when I was completely inappropriate.
Yeah.
And felt that I was always managing my true self.
Yeah.
That I haven't got a thick northern accent now, but I did when I was younger. And my very boisterous character, you had to be mindful of the stars, they had to, you couldn't speak to them necessarily, and I didn't quite get that hierarchy.
Yeah.
So I found that a struggle, I really did. And then again, it's so interesting, isn't it, how history just repeats itself. Going into Parliament, not having a parliamentary background, not having been to a constituency Labour Party meeting even, and ending up as the MP for Batley and Spen for my hometown. But then you realise the more you get to know people that actually they're not being, the power is in being your true self.
Yeah.
Because I think at the moment the trust in politicians is rock bottom, because people have behaved in a way that they're expected to behave, rather than them making decisions that come from their lived experience and how they understand their communities. And I would say it's been a gift coming into politics late, because I do think I bring that knowledge of even being a freelancer, having to put things back in the supermarket because you can't afford it, my own kids being on free school meals, worrying about having family bail you out, paying your mortgage because you can't get a job. That stress and staying awake at night worrying about money, I think has given me an insight into how people live that sometimes politicians don't have. So definitely. I suppose learning from how I was as an actor, trying to understand my place in that world without the family connections and having gone to a posh drama school and all of that, it helped me in Parliament. Because I thought I recognised these feelings, but actually I now know, because I'm older and wiser, that this is a strength.
Definitely.
To be your true self is your secret weapon.
Yeah, no, of course. I think so much of that is about having role models that you can relate to and stuff, and that's why having sort of visible LGBT role models is really important. I don't know if you have any sort of LGBT heroes or I guess role models who have inspired you and shaped your views on LGBT equality. Well,
I mean, let's think in culture, Jeanette Winterson, Orange is Not the Only Fruit. For me, it was the first ever book I'd read that was from a woman's point of view, about her coming out as a young lesbian in a religious family. It felt up until then, in my experience and my reading, that all the stories had been about guys and really great stories and valuable journeys to read about. But this was the first time that I'd read about a young kid in the north. So that was really, really powerful. And of course, I mean, the god that is Russell T Davies.
Yes, of course.
I mean, It's a Sin has to be the best show of the century. But I think that was so valuable because I think there's a lot that people don't understand about that period in the 80s. When if you were gay, it was almost like a death sentence. And people were afraid of coming out because they were afraid that people would think they had this disease and they were could potentially pass it on to them. So it's such a powerful bit of political writing as well as history, and it's also such a glorious series. And he's such an amazing person as well.
Brilliant, isn't it? But to bring that alive, like that story alive again, it's not so long ago, and yet we feel like we've come such a long way since then. And
I would say in Parliament as well, politicians are much more relaxed about their private life, and I think that's got to be the way forward. Back in the day when we've got, is it Jeremy Thorpe, the Liberals, and you couldn't be gay, you couldn't be out, and you were open to blackmail, and it was all subterfuge. It takes away your power. So I think to be open and honest has got to be the way forward.
Definitely. I think that kind of highlights why it's great to talk about these sort of issues in the workplace and why it's important to be yourself in the workplace and be empowered to be yourself.
But I would also say that I need to learn as well.
Yes, yeah.
So I think it's important to have those channels that are open.
Yeah.
So you can challenge leadership, and I know that you do, and quite right, that I want to be the most progressive combined authority in the whole country.
Yeah.
And certainly learning from brilliant businesses like, for example, Sky Bet in Leeds. They were telling me the other day that they've got, I think it's over 10 members of staff who are currently transitioning. And I was like, wow, that's incredible. Yeah. What did you do to enable that to happen? And it's because they gave leave time, paid leave.
Yeah.
It's just those small choices that management are making that actually enable us to be a more diverse organisation. So I know we've a long way to go.
Yeah.
You know, we weren't in a necessarily brilliant place, but 8 months in, I'm hoping that people can see some of the changes that are happening, because we're going to be a better organisation. But I want us to be the best as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think hopefully setting up, Proud at WYCA, that's a good start to make these conversations happen as well. I guess it's just important to reflect on, we're two sort of white people sat in a room and I'm a white man. How do we make sure sort of LGBT movements are sort of inclusive for everyone? How can we make sure it's not just helping certain groups, but that, it really empowers everyone to feel equal?
You're absolutely right. That is a challenge, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I think that intersectionality is really important for our data gathering. It's important for me when I speak to the Chief Constable about the data, that I get the full picture. Yeah. But I'm hoping that all of our groups that are being set up, and I'm really, I can't tell you how delighted I am that our colleagues have, understood that this is a safe organisation and you will be supported from the top. I'm hoping that we can do more interweaving of those groups. The challenges are often very similar. About acceptance, definitely. And about progression and leadership opportunities. So I'm hoping that we can understand that intersectionality as well. Yeah,
brilliant. No, that's great to hear. I think working between the different groups, that needs to be, because I think what we did for Black History Month was really inspiring. I think that's definitely inspired what we want to do for LGBTQIA plus History Month. So I guess obviously you're a mayor and you have a responsibility for all of West Yorkshire. What are kind of the key things we need to make, outside of a workplace, but in our region, to make West Yorkshire an inclusive place for LGBT people?
I was always struck by, I went to an event with a head teacher, and we were talking about the challenge for schools, about inclusivity. Yeah. And I was struck by his statistics where he said, if there's 1,000 pupils in a school, 100 will be LGBT, and then 10 of them will potentially want to take their own life. Yeah. And often it's because they're transitioning, or they're not feeling they're in the right body and they need support. I think we have to start in education. Now, my responsibilities are 19 plus, adult education and so on, but I think we can support. There are funding streams that will be potential opportunities to set up organisations or to help organisations be more robust going forward. I'm struck by the fact that we don't have an LGBT resource centre in Leeds, for example. That seems like a real missed opportunity. We have a couple of cafes, and obviously the viaduct is the centre of the universe. But I think there's more that we can do to empower communities outside of Leeds as well. Obviously Bradford's got a great month coming up. Definitely. And Kirklees and Calderdale is saying, it's beyond the big cities, it's in towns as well.
Definitely. That classic thing of people feeling they had to move to the big city to find it. We need to change that, don't we?
And also I would say during the pandemic, I was really concerned that bars were closing and may potentially not open again, because for maybe 2 years, young people wouldn't have had their family to go to. Yeah. So if you're struggling and you can't come out to your parents, you will go to a club, and that's where you feel your authentic self. Yeah. And if they are closed, where is that support network? No. So I am worried that we've got a whole raft of youngsters that haven't had that help for the last 18 months. And, you know, I'm very open to working with organisations to make sure everybody, you know, knows that the priority is to have that robust nighttime economy. For young people in particular.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Tracy, for sitting down and talking
it's a real pleasure.
It's been brilliant.
So good to chat to you.
And thank you for getting involved in the month, and hopefully people will be interested by it.
And honestly, thank you to everybody that set it up, because this is just the beginning.
Yes, no, definitely. Thank you.